there, and welcome to a brand new episode of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby Hassman, and joining me today, a brand new rock star. He's someone who I actually met a long time ago, but we've sort of reconnected recently. He's a creator at Promo Noise with Working Writers Co. He's a marketer. He's a podcaster. He's the host of Almost Enlightened, a podcast I highly recommend. Alex Morin, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, Kirby, and thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be on your show. I love your energy. I love your content. I love what you're creating and the joy you bring to so many people. So this is so great to be on your show today.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you reaching out. We had a great, in the interest of transparency, we had a great chat like a week or so ago, just kind of catching up. And we kind of came up with this idea that we ought to do this on camera for other folks. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. So I want to start kind of dive right in with the idea of what you're working on. I mean, you've got some projects that are really interesting. So I'm curious what project that you're working on right now that has you totally fired up and why?
Cool question. As you said, I'm working on a few projects at the moment, one of which that's most pertinent to the marketing world, the advertising specialty world, is a company called Promo Noise that I started a couple of months ago. And it's an educational company. I asked myself a few months ago, what the heck could I do with this wealth of knowledge, this 20 plus years in the industry of experiences, of mentorship, of lessons, of heartache, of failure,
Right.
of all these types of things. And over the past 15 months, I've sort of reconstructed my life, and I've been doing a lot of investigation into the study of the science of consciousness. So how could I bring all of this together and really give something valuable to people, let them discover who they are and use who they are to be able to build their futures, to be able to build life and enjoy the same thing that you're delivering. So I'm doing that a few ways through Promo Noise right now, writing blogs. I got an ebook that came out on the platform, some video work here and there. And then once January comes in, I'll turn that proverbial knob up on Promo Noise to 11 and have some fun with it. I've got some really cool places I want to go with the company. So I'm really excited and jazzed up about that project right now, Kirby.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I'm actually in the process of listening to a book called Peak Mind, which talks about the science of mindfulness, written from a neurobiologist point of view, and kind of talks about that idea of how much power there is in doing those exercises. So I think that's really, really interesting. So I'm curious. I like to ask people what inspires them, because I think that tells a story a little bit about them. So who are some people that inspire you to be better, and how do they do that?
Another great question. And I would say that off the top of my head, there are two women that have inspired me the most, I think, in my life. And that would be my mom and my wife. My mom for just giving me the space my entire life to be myself, to do it my way and not be sitting there with a whip and telling me what to do. And I have learned so much off of her, and I'm only rediscovering now what she gave me. As I get older, I've got 3 kids. 2 are teenagers, one's in her second year university. And having raised them initially, I did it a little bit differently than my parents did. I was a bit more controlling, and I'm realizing how awesome a job my parents did, particularly my mom. My dad's not around anymore. And we've got a younger child now, second marriage, 6 years old. And I'm experiencing a different way of raising him, the way my mom did, allowing the freedom, allowing the space. And as an older parent with a bit more experience and a bit more relaxed, I'm using that knowledge now, and I can see what it's doing. Not to say that my other kids aren't succeeding, they are, but They had it a little bit harder. I think they had to bust out of that mold of dad's telling me I should do this or this or this. So my mom's a big inspiration without question. And my wife as well. We've been together now for probably over 12 years or so, and she's seen me at my best and she's seen me at my worst. And I think that for many years, I didn't realize just what a rock star, speaking of rock stars, my wife is and was and always will be. And I'm understanding now the heart she brings to life and that component that was absent from me for so many years. So she is inspiring me. And lastly, I could point out a million, prominent business people that inspire me, but I won't go down that road because you're probably inspired by the same people as are your listeners. But I will say that we can also draw inspiration from people that rub us the wrong way. And I
Hmm.
think we forget that in life sometimes, that you
Yeah.
can be inspired by everything and everyone. And I'm really trying to bring that into my life, Kirby, is no matter who I interact with, whether it's an abrasive interaction or whether it's like a teachable moment, they're just like teaching me something I'm not aware of. There is inspiration to be drawn from that. And it makes life infinitely more interesting when you're inspired by everything around you. It becomes quite joyous in spite of that abrasiveness or those odd vibrations.
Yeah, that is really interesting because the moment you said that, so I have two observations about that answer. So good stuff. Number one, the idea that people who rub you the wrong way can inspire you. It's funny you say that because I remember I had a boss early on that it was so one of those that wasn't a good boss, but it was funny because he really did shape how I wanted to treat my employees because he didn't treat me that way. And so I think that's a great point because he wasn't a great boss, but he inspired me hopefully to be a better one. And the other thing that I take away is that I love what you talked about parenting, about how I think so many of us don't give ourselves the opportunity to grow. And one of the ways we do that is to go, look, I did it one way. And I think that I'm willing to say that whether I was wrong or that I can, I can do it better. And so I kudos to you for kind of embracing that idea that maybe I can parent differently. And I admire that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Kirby.
You bet. So what are some things, or maybe one thing that this is one that I feel is interesting to the listeners. I get a lot of feedback when I ask this question is what are some things that you've struggled with or have struggled with in the past, and how do you overcome them?
You got 2 hours?
Maybe we get the Cliff Notes version of this.
Okay. I think what I've realized is that I struggle with the basic fears that I think most of us struggle with. For me, the biggest one has been fear of judgment. And that plays into what I've discovered about myself is that I spent a lot of my career and my business years in ego and arrogance. And it's not to say that I was an ass by any stretch of the imagination. Yes, there were asshole things I did, but what I mean by that is that really I've discovered that in doing things and thinking about myself first, and then judging other people, that was the thing I was most afraid of. That's probably why I did it. I want to be better. I want to be stronger. I want to make more. I want my company to be bigger.
Right.
And I got trapped in that, Kirby, and I'm not proud of it at all. And it's something that I have worked on tremendously over these past 15 months, just really reflecting, taking a look at who I've been, what shapes me, who I am. And these days, I'm beginning to drop that fear of judgment. And what happens in dropping that fear of judgment is that I stop judging and I start seeing everyone as equals and everyone as a partner in life. And that's been a remarkable transformation for me and the source of so much joy and wealth of knowledge and friendship, sincere friendship.
Right.
And again, not to say that I never had it. Everywhere I've gone in my life, I've left it on the table all the time, giving you everything I've got. Been as authentic as I could be, I suppose, in that skin. But it's a different way of looking at life. So yeah, I've struggled with those types of fears. And I've even struggled with a fear of poverty in spite of having money and making good money. You see this in business a lot, people that make millions or make billions. Well, I need a few more billion, or I need a few more million. And so that was a mindset that I had to get past. I had to realize, well, where is the joy in life?
Right.
And the joy in life is firmly rooted in our hearts. That's precisely where it is. Everything comes from that. So these are some of the things that I've struggled with and quite frankly continue to struggle with, but am on the road to discovering and working with and just trying to expand and become a better human being.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think sometimes when we answer these questions, and I've run into this sometimes where when you do personal development content, and I know you do, I think sometimes one of the fears is that people think that you're portraying yourself as you've got it all figured out. I think sometimes the content that resonates the most with audience is the blog post that I wrote to myself that morning, right? The thing I needed to hear. And so I think that I appreciate you being sort of open about that. I agree. I think that those are things that a lot of us struggle with. So thank you.
Well, let me expand for 2 seconds on that.
Yeah,
Just very, very quickly. I wanted to say that you're absolutely right about that. The blog you write to yourself ends up being the most important message for everybody else. And one of my projects, Almost Enlightened, the podcast, is a child to me, without question. It is an absolute child to me. And I love it to death. And it's so humbling and it's so humiliating at times, writing these podcasts and bearing your soul and crying on air. I mean, I do this, I do this. And so, but they're the most important ones because they allow me to grow, which allows everyone around me to grow, this space that I create. It's just, it's a beautiful thing, but oh my gosh, Kirby, is it ever tough? Like it is the toughest thing I've ever done in my life.
No, it's cool. Real quickly, I got one more question for you. I'm really enjoying this, but where can they find Almost Enlightened? I've had a chance to listen to one of the episodes so far, but where can folks find it?
Thank you. You'll find it on Apple, on Spotify, on Amazon, under Almost Enlightened, or you can put Alex Morin in iTunes or whatever, and it'll pop up and populate.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Just wanted to do that before I forgot. So, okay. So final question for you. What are a tip or some tips that you can give folks who are listening to this for growing both personally and or professionally? Okay.
I think it all starts personally. There is no professional development if we don't grow personally, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So I would say find faith and find belief. And that can be religious or it doesn't have to be. It can be spiritual or it doesn't have to be. It can be love-based or it doesn't have to be. But find something, because you wake up every single morning and you have a faith that you are going to wake up. That is faith. And when we find something a little bit more meaningful, not that there's anything more meaningful than actually living, but when we find it, when we see it, and we begin to have faith and belief that this is what I'm all about, this is the essence of me, it's part of me, my mission, what I want to accomplish, what I want to share, what I want to learn, how I want to spread love and joy. That's where it all starts to come together. I'm 15 months into this new project, have not had a ton of financial success, but it's totally okay because I've learned more in 15 months than I have in a lifetime, and everything is starting to flow now. So when you say personally or professionally, the professional is now all coming, right? And I think that's so important for people to realize, whether you're in sales, whether you're in marketing, doing order entry, it doesn't matter. Just find love and joy and work on yourself. Everything around you improves. The quality of your friendships do, that your work does, your output does, the opportunities do, your financial wherewithal does. It all comes together. And I have faith that happens, and I will never let go of that. And I'd say that's the biggest advice. Find the belief, find the faith.
Boy, I really like that. You called it belief. I call it purpose. It's like when I wake up with the thing I know I'm excited to work on. It's funny how easy it is for me to get up that day. And sometimes when I don't, that's when I struggle the most. So I think that there's a ton of wisdom in that, Alex. So thank you so much for taking the time today and kind of sharing your wisdom with us. And I'm excited about what, kind of the journey you're on. So thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you, Kirby, for your time and this platform. I love this show. I love your work. Keep on doing what you're doing, because I could have easily said, and I should say in that question, who's inspiring me? You are. Having found all of your material, I sincerely mean that. It's wonderful. I'm inspired daily.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you. We'll have to do this again sometime, okay?
I would love to. Thanks, Kirby. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.